This morning, we're kind of taking a little bit of a different angle as we kind of talk about this series, and I want to keep this fresh in front of you. Like, I don't know if you've picked up, because we don't often pick it up even as a staff, like what God has been doing with us all along this way, like even backing up all the way to this past January. And really even before that, where we just talked about, man, what does it look like to have like this devotion to God, like just dedicated to Him, where He's enough. Like I don't need anything else. And then we looked at like what that looks like in the book of James. And then we came into this place where like God began to open our eyes to this clear picture of like what it means to live with intentionality and to have this vantage point of who He is. Like God is, church, I need you to see something. He's teeing us up. He's putting us in a place of usability for His glory and for His kingdom that is outside of our doing. He's just doing that. I think sometimes when our eyes are not up, we don't see that. Like even the hardships that we face, even the difficulties that we walk through, God is using every bit of that for His glory, to esteem Him way greater than anything else could ever be. And church, you are a part of that. Like, I don't know, like I've had this, like this slogan that's just been kind of in my head. And if you got it, the email this past week, just sent out a financial email, but it's something that I've been using over and over and over. And it's this statement when I look at you as I say, man, you really are making a difference. You're making an impact, church. You're doing something. Look around. See what God is doing around you. He's doing something. Sometimes we can't put our finger on it. Sometimes it's in this understanding that we're just like, I'm just going to land on the fact that, God, you're up to something. Because we can rest in that. He doesn't ever not do anything. He's always working in the direction of His glory being the thing that we set our eyes on. And He says, now just walk inside of this and walk towards me. Don't veer to the left, don't veer to the right, but just keep your eyes set on me. Because as long as we're doing that, man, we are going to see God do something. And guess what? He's going to use His people to do it. That's you. Can I be honest with you? Not that I'm ever not. I don't want to be another church that's fat and lazy that just shows up on Sunday mornings. I don't. I want to be a church that says, God, whatever you want to do, that's what we're doing. And we're going to be busy. And it's going to be hard. But we're going to keep our eyes on you. And we're going to be a church that walks on mission. With you, for you, beside you, you leading out, you pushing us along. That's what I want to be a part of. And when I look around and I see you, I see people that do that. Now, are we right where we think that God wants us exactly? Nope, He's pushing, He's pushing, He's pushing, and He's going to keep pushing. Let Him push you. But along the way, guys, we've got to have our eyes up. We've got to have them focused. Like we've got to see Him for who He is. God, what are you doing? God, we want to recognize, like through the vantage point of you, God, everything that's taking place. So God, we're seeing it all and we're moving, God, the way you call us to move. We don't want to do anything else but that. So we keep our eyes up, and that's what we've been talking about in this series. What does it look like to have your eyes up, watching for God to do the kind of stuff that He says that He can do? I think it's way too easy in the world that we live in today to watch with skeptical eyes, just going, well, I just don't know anymore. Like, is God up to anything? Instead, it's looking and going, God, what are you doing? Where are you working? And how do I get to join you in that? Isaiah 40:31. It has been a key to this whole thing. Hopefully you can probably quote it by now. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. Those who wait for the Lord. Those who wait for the Lord, anticipating with excitement, enthusiasm. Can I tell you something? There's going to be a lot of just kind of my own personal testimony right now. But this past week has been just a crazy week of my brain kind of in a lot of different directions, getting ready to leave for Thailand tomorrow. But can I tell you something? I have been trying my hardest to practice that and just going, God, I am waiting. God, I don't even know what this trip's going to look like. I called Brooks the other day and I said, Brooks, I was like, I don't have a clue what I'm even walking into. I don't have a clue. And it was like God was just like, but that's okay, it's perfect. Because then you just get to wait for me. You just get to wait for me. And so even my prayer this week and going into this is just, God, what are you doing? God, I'm going to wait for you. You do the work. Micah 7:7, but as for me, I will watch expectantly. Watching, waiting. Let me ask you a question. This is just kind of a recap and review, just in your own heart. Like, are you longing for the Lord with expectancy? Are you longing for that? Like, in the depths of your soul, do you find yourself waking up and going, God, I just want to see you. God, just you. God, what are you doing in this situation? How are you working here? How are you operating? Are we actively listening for the Lord? Where we're going, okay, God, I'm walking into this situation. God, I just want to hear what you have to say because I don't want to speak it if it's not from you. So I'm actively listening. I'm ears wide open, just going, okay, God, I'm listening. God, I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm listening. Isn't it amazing when you like actively listen how much you pick up on? It's like when you lay at bed at night and it's just deathly quiet in your house, and then you hear that noise, and then all of a sudden, like, you're just like, it's like silence is so loud. But then at that point in time, you hear everything. Everything. I gotta wonder if that's kind of what it's like in the kingdom too. And when we come with just this expectancy of listening, just God. Are we intently looking for the Lord, searching? Are we eagerly living for Him? Because when we do those things, I think that's when our kingdom senses kind of ignite and we begin to operate in this place of like, what does it look like just to be on? You ever wondered that? What would it look like just to be on? Just kingdom on, faith on, just undistracted, just on for God. What would that look like? What would it feel like? What would it sound like? I think it would probably change our worlds drastically. I got a video that I want you to watch. The last time we saw Brooks was almost a year ago to this day, where he was here and he was sharing just his heart before he got on a plane a couple days later and headed for Thailand, where in his mind, that's where he's going to be buried. He's in it for the long haul. He's not just kind of over there for just kind of a short-term missions, extended missions. He's there to be with people that he's supposed to be sharing his faith with. And this is who I'm about to go connect with after many, many years of not having got to be with him face to face. So I get to hang out with Brooks for the next little bit. But I wanted you, as we kind of start kind of thinking through some more of this series and kind of where we're going to be, I wanted you just to get a taste and a feel kind of where he's at, what he's doing. He's got a little bit of a message at the end that I want you to hear. And then I'm going to come back up in just a minute and we're going to talk just a little bit more.
We got Vantage Point. It's Brooks here, and wanted to say first thank you so much last year for helping us get to our village here in Ban Nam Kim, Thailand. I'm standing in front of our home here, and it's been almost 1 year since we moved here, and we couldn't be more excited about the progress that's been made in our language studies, as we've spent the last 10 months trying to grasp hold of the heart language of the people of our village, and for the progress that's been made in our church. and for the opportunities that lie ahead. And so I wanted to say thank you first and foremost for your help in getting us here, your support, your prayers along the way and over the past 10 months in our time spent here in this village. I'm going to turn here. I don't know how much you'll be able to see here, but this is the school building. We live in a community in Nam Kim. Our village is a very unique village because inside of our community here we have 3 different people groups, and those 3 groups are Thai nationals, Burmese refugees who have been here most of their lives since the Burmese Civil War started in 1989, 90, something like that. So 30 some odd years. So you've got a couple generations now of Burmese refugees that have lived here in Thailand. And then we live so close to the ocean that the Thai Sea Gypsies, people group called the Moken group, live here part of the year, and then they go around to different islands the rest of the year. You're gonna see maybe some kids run out here in just a little while, and it's so much fun. But we have a school here for the Burmese refugee children who don't go to the public school for various reasons here in Thailand. And so we have a learning center on our property, but that's the school. And then here, let me turn this way. Here is our church building. The bottom floor is the church, the second floor is offices, actually a 4-story building. The 3rd floor is dorm rooms for when teams like your church come and visit and do some work and volunteer in our community. We can house up to 100 people on our property. And then the 4th floor is tsunami evacuation because we know one day, just because of the way that our village sits along the edge of 2 rivers, and so close to the ocean, that one day a tsunami is going to come again and people in this village will need a place to go. And so we have the place, if a tsunami hits, praise the Lord that people know, hey, if you see the wave, run to the church and you'll be safe. And only God does that kind of thing. So run to the church and you'll be safe. Here's the Tsunami Museum that was built, gosh, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And every day after school, all of the village kids, both Thai and Burmese, will come and play and just hang out, and they play soccer. And so we'll walk down here so that the kids can play together, get to know them, make friends. It's the whole mission. So here I am inside of our church room, our church building. This is where we have our worship services on Sunday, and we're beginning the process of planning and designing a remodel of this room. And so we've been raising support for that, raising some funds for that. And prayerfully, thankfully, the Lord has blessed us in a tremendous way, and some churches have given into that. And so we're grateful for that, and we look forward to seeing what this room turns into. And just to share a little bit about the church. And so ministry in Thailand, southern Thailand, is extremely difficult. And we were told that before we moved here. Southern Thailand is very hard, especially in a small remote village, because nominal Buddhism has such a stronghold on the people here. They're not devoutly Buddhist, but it's just their whole life has been centered around this. The teachings and going to the Wat, to the temple, and doing the rituals and doing all that. Sounds a lot like nominal Christianity, honestly. But it's got such a stronghold on the community that really in the South, to be Thai is to be Buddhist. And so we were told and kind of warned, like, just be ready. It's a slugfest. It's difficult. If you see one salvation per year, then God is blessing your ministry. And God has blessed us abundantly in that since we've been here, we have had 4 salvations, and we baptized 3 people. And so we rejoice with God for that. We're seeing young people in our church that are stepping into leadership roles. I'm discipling one 19-year-old young man who has really taken a strong opportunity. He's stepped into strong opportunities to lead and become a leader in our church. So he helps lead our worship, and prayerfully one day when you come, that you'll meet him and see him and see how gifted this young man is. And so we're thankful for him, and this is the church. Small little building. We see about 25 people on Sundays every week, and sometimes it's new folks, sometimes it's people visiting from the States or from Australia or places like that. But this is the church. So I know you guys are in this series about keeping your eyes up and looking up and having God give you the eyes to see opportunities around. And we thank you that you have so faithfully in the week that we got to visit you, done that for us and partnered with us in that way. And we want to encourage you just to continue doing that. And so Dustin is coming here next week, and we're excited about that. And he is coming with no preset agenda, which is what I love, because our goal is for he and I to go around our village and to have our eyes open, just to ask God and beg of God, give us a clear path forward about what you want to do through Vantage Point in this community.
You don't even see it sometimes. Just how God works. Just despite you. In spite of you. You already have an impact in a country across the world. And we're not done. Church, we're not done. You're not done. There's some of you God's already got lined up, ready to go, so get your passports ready. That's it. Man, I look forward more than anything just to stand with him in the middle of his country and village and just go, God, what do you want to do? God, what do you want to do? And the craziest part about it is he's going to shape what we're going to do because of the people that you are. He already knows those things because he's put the people here that are going to help make it happen. How cool is that? That he has constructed this to make that happen. So why do we do it? What does it look like? Why do we go like the Great Commission calls us to go, to make disciples, baptizing them in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit? Like what is that all about? What about Acts 1:8, right? And you will receive power and the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. We love to translate that verse as, well, I'll pick Jerusalem because that's easy. You know, maybe I'll get to Judea. I mean, I'll go downtown Fort Worth. That's. He says to the hard places too. You see, the way that's translated is not this or this or this or this. It's this and this and this and this and this, and we go. We just move. The way he tells us to move in the direction. And guys, we are already seeing stuff happening in Jerusalem. Right here in our area. This summer, man, we are going to see some things happening in our Judea and our Samaria that's right around here. Our men's ministry's kind of been working through some things, and our women's ministry's kind of working through some things. And just as a church, we've got some opportunity to kind of start serving in some of these really cool areas here locally. But here's the other thing. We can't forget the ends of the earth because God called us to that as well. So why do we do all of that? What is all of this about? I'm glad you asked. I love John 4. I've already been in it once already. John 4 is the story where Jesus goes into Samaria. He goes into a place that was hard. He goes into a place that Jews were not really permitted. Jews didn't go there. There was some battle. They didn't like each other. And so they just didn't do that. And so what a Jew would have done is they would have taken the long way around Samaria so they could get where they needed to go. But Jesus was like, nope, I've got something we got to do. And so they said, let's go through the middle. And so that's where you see Jesus. Jesus stops in the middle of this village, and he stops at this well, and his disciples are like, hey, we're going to get food. He's like, sweet, I'm just going to stay right here. And so he stays right there, right? And we know the story. Samaritan woman comes out. Samaritan woman's had a pretty rough life. She's been around a little bit. Jesus is asking her for some water. She gets real confused about all this water talk. Jesus is like, listen, if you knew who you were talking with, you wouldn't be listening. You would be asking. You'd be saying, hey, I need some of your water. I need what you got. Because he talks about his water, like as we drink that, like it is this stuff that wells up inside of us. Like that's a picture of Christianity, by the way, when Jesus is inside of you, right? Like it wells up inside of you and it kind of bursts out of you because that's what Jesus does. He doesn't just sit inside where you just kind of have this kumbaya relationship, but he starts igniting inside of you stuff that starts coming out of you. That's what he does. That's how he operates. And so we see that, and he begins to talk to this woman about this, and she gets into a worship debate, and he's like, listen, I'm not about debating at that. And so he just says, listen, man, spirit and truth, like that's how you're going to worship. And then he's like, hey, go call your husband. She's like, well, I don't have a husband. He's like, no, I know you don't have a husband. You've had 5, and the one that you're with right now is not even your husband, but we'll get to that in a little bit later on. And all of a sudden, this woman is just getting impacted by Jesus. You know, so her eyes are this big, just going, how in the world do you know this kind of stuff? Like, you're scratching itches I didn't even know that I needed scratched. And this is where the story gets even cooler. Ready? She leaves because she gets jazzed about what Jesus is doing. She got excited, and what'd she do? She goes back to her village, and she started going, you are not going to believe this. There's a dude that I just met out there. His name is Jesus, and he's got this living water, and like he knows stuff about me that like y'all don't even know. Like he could tell me everything about me. She's excited. She's like, I need you. Come on. I'm going to show you where he's at. I know where he's at. And so now she's starting her trek out to where Jesus is. And that's where we're going to pick up the story. In verse 27 of John 4, I want you to kind of pick up with me here. This isn't up there. We'll jump up there at verse 31, but I wanted to back up just a little bit. So he's just kind of had this conversation, and she's just like, listen, I'm Jesus, I'm the I am, right? He said, just then his disciples came back. So his disciples were missing all of this. They come back, and they marveled that he was talking with a woman. Isn't it crazy how we can get so tangled up in dumb stuff? Ministry's happening. They're like, bro, you're talking to a girl. What is wrong with you? And she's a Samaritan. What are the elders going to think? Dumb stuff. But no one said, what do you seek? Or why are you talking with her? Like, hey, like for real, like what's going on here? So the woman left her water jar and went away into a town and said to the people, come and see a man who told me all that I ever did. Can this be the Christ? They went out of town and were coming to him. So pick up on this, okay? This is important with what Jesus is going to say in just a minute, right? Verse 31. Meanwhile, the disciples were urging him, saying, Rabbi, eat. Again, we get wrapped up in some dumb stuff. Jesus is jazzed about this conversation that he knew he was going to have, and he set aside a time so he could meet with her, and he is watching all of this fulfill, like he's watching his Father's plan happen, and he's a part of this, and he's doing all of this, and these disciples are like, hey, bro, you need to eat. Let's get some food in your belly, man. You've been without food for a while. And I love Jesus' response. What does he say? But he said to them, I have food to eat that you don't know about. Immediately, they're like the Samaritan woman. Where's this water? I need to drink some of that. They're like, so who else is bringing you food, dude? Like, you sent us to get food. We were going to bring it back. Somebody else brought you food ahead of us? What's going on? Again, they don't get it. They're not seeing the big picture. They're not seeing like what God is doing on this giant scale. They can just see kind of what their eyes can see in that moment. And then Jesus unloads on them and says this, My food, in other words, my sustenance, what drives me, what moves me, what fills me, what gives me satisfaction, he says this, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. He said nothing else. He goes, man, if I eat that food over there, man, I'm going to have to eat again tomorrow. I'm just going to get hungry again. But when I do what my God calls me to do, it fills me up in such a way that there is satisfaction that is guaranteed. So let me ask you a question, right? Like kind of in lieu of maybe the disciples here. Like if the disciples look at you and say, hey, man, you need to eat. What's your response at that point in time? Well, what you got? What's in the bag? What do you have to offer? Because I'm a little hungry right now. Maybe the question that we need to ask in a little bit broader scale is that when the world comes flying your way and they said, hey, bro, you need this. Hey, you need to try this. Hey, man, how about you find some satisfaction in this? What do you find radiating in your heart? You know what? Hey, that sounds great and all. But can I tell you what really satisfies me more than absolutely anything? That's just to do what God tells me to do. I'm about his will. That's it. And not even just starting it. You notice what he says, and I think it's great for the American church to hear this. It's not just starting some really cool things all over the place. It's actually finishing it. It's actually accomplishing what has been set out. I think we are great starters. I think the church today is really good at starting. But when it gets hard and it's not as satisfying and it's not as fulfilling, and when it costs you money to have to go do, and when it takes time that you have to go do, can I tell you something? I hate that I'm fixing to leave my kids and my family, my wife, for the next couple weeks. But I rest in this reality that I'm going, but God, this is what you're asking me to do right now. And doing that is so much more satisfying than even my kids and my wife. And that sounds so terrible to say, doesn't it? Don't tell her I said that. She's not in here. But you know what I'm talking about. What's more satisfying is saying, God, what do you want from me? That's what I want to go do. He's saying, I need you to go, and this is what we're going to go do. Just hold on, and I'm going to show you some really cool things. And here's the deal. Like, I'm getting over there, and I'm going, okay, like, I'm a starter. I'm a great starter. Man, I lack sometimes the ability of the latter part of that, because I get bored and ADD and, like, find something else that looks more fun. I get distracted by this and distracted by that. But I'm looking at this, and can I tell you my biggest prayer? You ready? I'm just jumping into Thailand for just a second. Can I tell you my biggest prayer that I hope you as a church join with me on is this right here. God, start something in the next 2 weeks that we got to get back over here and start working on immediately. That's my prayer, by the way. Sorry, I threw all of y'all under the bus. So if you get raises, if you get bonuses, put that away because that's your Thailand money. All right? You're coming. God, what do you want to do? And God, how can we finish all of it according to you and what you want for us? So that's our call. So we translate that even over to us today, that our food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. And I love what he says in verse 35. He says this, do you not say there are yet 4 months, then comes the harvest. And this is how it happens. Look what he tells his disciples. He says, look, lift up your eyes and see that the fields are white for harvest. He's not just speaking in hyperbole here. He's not just kind of speaking, just kind of like, hey, imagine. Nope. You know what he's doing? He's looking at a lady that he just had a conversation with, walking up the fields with a bunch of people behind her, and she's already said, you need to go see this. And Jesus is going, hey, just look. Do you see this? The fields are white. They are ripe. That's what that means, by the way. It means ready. It's ready for picking, meaning that if our eyes aren't up looking for that and seeing that, and here's the deal. Listen, it's so easy for us to go to Thailand and be intentional. It is so easy to do that. Man, there's something about being in another country for Jesus that you're just like, let's go, woo! It's another thing when you're here. Going to work, doing your daily grind, to look up and see the harvest. That's where it gets real hard. I remember when we used to take trips with another church a long time ago. It was so funny because we'd get over there and everybody'd be like, oh my gosh, life over here is so simple. Life over here is so cool. Like they don't need video games. Man, they don't need this. They don't need that. Dude, it's just, they go out and play. They just hang out and they're hanging out and there's conversations and your eyes are everywhere. And then you come back here and we don't see any of that. We don't see how God's working here because it's just too easy to not look. It's just way too easy. And so here's the deal. Yes, we are going to the ends of the earth, but if it doesn't start here, we'll never be intentional there. And if it doesn't happen at that next level, it's not going to happen at the one after that. So here's something you can hold on to. If we're not looking for and walking in God's will, we're going to miss out on being a part of kingdom opportunity that brings great satisfaction. If we're not looking, if we're not walking, if we're not thinking with eyes of the kingdom, listening with ears of the kingdom, moving with feet that move in the kingdom, then we're going to miss the greatest satisfaction that comes from Jesus in walking out what he says that we need to walk out. That's what we got to do. Eyes up, ears out. God, what are you doing? Look up, lift up your eyes, and see that the fields are white for harvest. And then he says this, already the one who reaps is receiving wages and gathering fruit for eternal life, so that the sower and reaper may rejoice together. For here the saying holds true, one sows and another reaps. So we all have a place at the table. We all have a place in this. And here's the deal. God's not waiting on you, by the way. Man, if Dustin would just get off of his bum and start doing this, then the world would quit going to hell in a handbasket. He's not waiting. He's just offering opportunity for you to be satisfied with fulfilling what he's called you to. He's not waiting. Because he's got people that are doing it, but he's also saying this right here, but you got space. You got a place. You can reap and you can sow. And I love it, this next part. He says this, I sent you to reap that for which you did not even labor. You're going to go in and cherry pick fruit that you didn't even plant because God says this is what you're going to do. There's stuff already happening. Hey, here's the beautiful thing. Some of you right now are going, man, I've never even thought about this before. I'm so late to this game. I don't think about lost people. I don't think about the ripe harvest that's available everywhere. I don't really think about anything. I just kind of think about me, and Sunday I think about Jesus, and I go back to me. He's saying this right here. It's not too late for you to step into the game. There's some work being done, and you're going to get to come in and be a part of some harvesting. All you got to do is say, God, I want to do what you want me to do. I just want to do you. What do you got for me, God? What do you have for me? And he's going to say, hey, here's a real low-hanging fruit. Go have fun with that one. Hey, try this one over here. And man, what happens is as we begin to watch God satisfy us, we watch God move in such a way. I think when we think about missions, when we think about doing this will of God, I think oftentimes we think of it as doing God a favor. God needs me. I'm going to go do a favor for him. He's got some rough place in Ban Kem, Thailand, so I'm going to go over there and I'm going to do God a favor. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to show all these people, man, who Jesus is. I'm bringing Jesus with me. I'm going to show them Jesus. Can I tell you something? He's already there working. He doesn't need me to bring anything but my luggage. I guess I don't even need to bring that. And I'm guaranteed to forget something. But you know what it's about? You know what missions is about? It's about just looking up and watching what God's doing. And sometimes it's about pointing people to that. Hey, you see what God's doing right here? I didn't even notice that. Hey, check this out. Watch this. Look how God is working. God is working. It's not up to us to try to show people or bring people. It's just to say, hey, God is here and he's doing something. And you want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that. Why? Because it's satisfying to do it. Oh, there is nothing more satisfying than walking with Jesus. You know how I can tell you that? Because I've walked the other side too. And it's not very satisfying. In fact, it leaves a big old hole. When you walk with Jesus, man, he just says, hey, let me fill you up. Let me satisfy you. You just stay focused on what I'm doing and you join me that. Just be a part. Just be a part. So church, we got some work to do. We got work to do here. We got work to do there. And this is what our church is called to do. Okay? So if you have a hard time with that, you might have a hard time being here. I want you to stay because I want you to experience the satisfaction of Jesus. But this is what we're going to do. And we'll have money that'll go there. We'll have budget that'll go over there. And we're going to take care of people in our own backyard, but we're also going to take care of people on the other side of the world. Because that's what God's called us to do. That's what he's called us to do. I know way too many people who've got mad at churches. We're doing what over there? We're spending how much money over there? They need Jesus. And we've been called. So we're going. We're going. So church, I'm going tomorrow with the hopes of coming back and saying, all right, who's going next? Because we got work to do. God's starting something, and we got work to do. So I need you to pray for me in that. I need you to pray for me in that. I need you to pray that my eyes are up, my ears are open, my feet move in the right direction. Pray the same thing for Brooks. In fact, what we're going to do kind of in this next little bit, man, we're going to spend some time just kind of praying. The band can come on up, whoever's supposed to be up in this. You guys can just kind of play for just a minute, but I want us to move into a time where we're just going to pray, okay? We're going to pray for Thai nationals. We're going to pray for the Moken group. We're going to pray for Burmese refugees, because those are people, okay? We're not praying for projects. We're praying for people. We're praying for hearts to be turned, hearts to know Jesus. So we're going to pray for that. And we're going to pray for Brooks and his family. And I'm going to ask that you would pray for me specifically. Pray for my family while they're here. So maybe what we can do at this point in time, and I love it because we're small enough we can do stuff like this, and it's great. Man, if there's somebody right around you, and if you wanted to clump up in kind of 3s and 4s and just kind of say, hey, let's just pray together. We're just going to open this up and we're just going to pray. And we're just going to let people just kind of listen and ask God to do some big things. And then we're going to walk in expectancy. God to answer those things. Okay? So I don't know what that looks like, and I know it means that we have to get up and kind of move, and that can get a little bit chaotic for people. But that's okay. So right now, just ask, man, what is God leading you to do? How is he leading you to pray? So let's just do this. Let's just all stand to our feet. And let's get us all just kind of stirring and moving.